It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. For the third time this week, I know, 3 times in 1 week. That's crazy. But we've had some news this week. Unfortunately, this is the only show that we don't actually have any news. So we're just going to be talking about some bad baseball. But you can follow us at all of our social medias at Around the 412. If you're not watching the show over there already, go check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you are notified every time we post a video or go live. We do that occasionally, every now and again, mainly during football season. But also, go check us out on the listening platforms as well, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us there. Leave a 5-star review. It helps us out a lot. And check out some of the description. We have all of our great sponsors down there. If you're interested in sponsoring Around the 412, if you're Pittsburgh-based business especially, hit us up in our email that is in our bio on Twitter or DM us on any of our social medias. And if you're interested in joining a foursome, Smitty's going to tell you how you can.
Yeah, we should specify that is for a golf outing, the Horace Nickel first annual Memorial Golf Outing taking place at Fox Run Golf Course on Saturday, August 16th at 9 a.m. Again, Fox Run Golf Course. If you're in Western PA, you're familiar with the area, probably familiar with Fox Run Golf Course, but that's Saturday, August 16th at 9 a.m. But by July 5th, you will have to register your foursome. So yeah, not sure based off what Tyler said, if this is what you had in mind. Maybe you're more of a threesome guy. But for this specifically, you're going to need to find one extra person to participate in the Horace Nickel first annual Memorial Golf Outing.
I mean, for me, whenever I'm golfing, I love it. There's just 2 of us. I love a twosome. I love whatever you call twosome.
Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Probably a lot more, one-on-one eye contact and stuff like that. Be able to pay more attention to what the other person needs. So yeah, I could see
focus
that
on the ball more.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. So in the Pirates and in the Steelers and Penguins shows this week, significant news to talk about. Aaron Rodgers signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Penguins hired a head coach, Dan Muse, the assistant of the New York Rangers. The Pittsburgh Pirates just continued to have a Pittsburgh Pirates season. Oh, one piece of good news, actually 2. Nick Gonzalez back from the IL.
Yeah,
so that's good to see. And 2, friend of the program, which I'm very sad that you were not able to be a part of this conversation a few years back. Mike Burrows pitching an absolute gem. Oddly enough, not his first win. He got a win out of the bullpen last year in the majors, but his first win as a starter in the majors over the last week. And very cool. He pitched very well. And what was so cool is this is a trust the buck and process if I've ever seen it. Mike Burrows handing the ball to Braxton Ashcraft, who's been very good since coming up as well. Another one of our guys was not on the podcast, but repping the brand down there. One of the, 30-ish guys that have been in the farm system that had one of those trust the buck and process tees. So that was a cool day. I kind of forgot about that until we started talking about the Pirates, the fact that they pitched in the same game, but that's a trust the buck and process game if I've ever seen one. So shout out to Mike, shout out to Braxton, shout out to Nick Gonzalez, shout out to Paul Skenes, and that's about where it ends in terms of the week that was for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, I think that you saw a bit of regression from the offense that we talked about at length.
Oh, that Diamondback series, had everybody flying high, and then
I think that was definitely a smokescreen if I've ever seen it, because we got brought back down to reality. There's a few players though that have continued to have some success with the bat. Namely,
wait a second.
Okay.
Timeout.
I'll pause.
In the last week, Andrew McCutchen tied Roberto Clemente for home runs in Pittsburgh Pirates. That is absolutely the newsworthy piece out of all this.
Okay, that's actually fair. That is fair. I think that I'm just so used to talking about negative with the Pirates that it didn't even slip my mind, or it just slipped my mind that I that happened, because I was very adamant, because there was some idiotic takes that were thrown out this week on Twitter when it came to Andrew McCutchen, namely saying that he was going to be or wouldn't start on any of the 1970s Pirates teams. Yeah.
This is if you have tweets coming from the Around the 412 account and they're from Tyler, something big's going on. Something needs to be said.
It drove me nuts. It drove me nuts. And I normally
Not
we
that
don't
the
name
people
drop.
outside would know who the posts are coming from, probably, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was
no,
Tyler that was tweeting.
also, normally we don't name drop people if we disagree with them. John Steigerwald's an idiot. Okay,
Yeah,
he's an
I mean, I'm
idiot.
fine. Yeah,
And
we should definitely name drop him.
yeah, I cannot stand pretty much everything that he says, but I just think he is so off base with this Andrew McCutchen take of his, saying that he would not start at all on any of the 1970s teams. So you're right. I had to go and dig and do some research into that to see if there's even any credence to what he was saying. And so I went to literally the 1979 World Series team to compare Andrew McCutchen to who they had in the outfield back then. And obviously they had Dave Parker, Hall of Famer. Obviously he's not going to take that spot, but there's two open spots in the outfield. Omar Moreno and Bill Robinson.
Good player.
Were two of the other outfielders that played majority of the games in that 1979 season.
Mm-hmm.
And Cutch clears them both. If you're looking at individual careers, if you're looking at individual years within those careers, 5-year stretches in those careers, he clears every outfielder on that 79 team.
You know what? You know what I hate about this though is it's not fair to those. It almost makes us like diminish what they did, and that's not the intention.
And that's
it's
why
just to prove
that's why I
Andrew
said
McCutchen,
in the reply tweet that was like, this is no disrespect to Moreno or Robinson at all. Like I'm not trying to just like cast hate towards them. I'm just trying to say that Andrew McCutchen is one of the best Pirates in Pirates history. Like he's one of the best players in Pirates history. And it's especially if you're considering it for just this generation, he is the best Pirate in this generation's history. Like it's without question. And that's why I thought it was so idiotic to say that he would not start on any of the 1970 teams. And ultimately it boiled down to me having to literally compare him to those players, which is why it comes across as disrespectful to those players. But that's not the intent. The intent is to really just uplift and show how good of a career and how good of a Pirate, or I was about to say Roberto Clemente, Andrew McCutchen has been in his career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was talking with my dad about it. We didn't realize that he had hit so many home runs in his time away from the Pirates, especially because he had that like very short season one year with the Phillies, but he has 82 home runs away from the Pirates as well. So you think about what could have been had he not left. And again, like that's how they got Brian Reynolds. So I'm not sitting here saying I wouldn't have made that trade or anything like that. But you know, think about where Andrew McCutchen could be in Pirates lore. I mean, he already is. I don't think anybody views him differently because they traded him and brought him back, but like how different the numbers could be as a Pirate had he not moved on at some point and only been as a Pittsburgh Pirate. So yeah, I mean,
or North Shore 9 brought this up, or if the Pirates had brought him up earlier and didn't leave him down in AAA for 800 at bats that he didn't need to be in there.
Yeah, I can't necessarily speak to that just because I don't even like remember, like I don't know how he was producing in the minors and stuff like that. So, but obviously they do.
Oh, sure, but for a podcast, we always say how hard it would be to do a podcast year round for the Pittsburgh Pirates and talk about them frequently. For a podcast that like North Shore 9 that talks about them frequently, I'll take their word for it that he should have been up sooner than he was.
I'm sick of them getting shout outs though. It's been happening far too often, both on here and somehow they got one on the afternoon drive a couple days ago as well. So, oh, I know what it was. We were talking about how it's easier, not easy, but easier to do a podcast about the Steelers year round because they're just always topical, and then brought up the Pirates and how it'd be impossible. And I said, well, I know some people that do it. So, but
that's true.
I don't know, but yeah, shout out to Cutch, and clearly one of the best in franchise history and one of the most important figures. And just a shame they haven't had the team success to coincide with the personal success that he's had while donning that uniform. And I think the same thing could be said about one Paul Skenes, who had yet another dominant start and yet again, not just nothing to show for it, actually a negative result to show for it in his last start.
Yeah, man, he is going to be the best pitcher of all time with the worst overall record.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not the worst overall record, but like he has to be. Whenever you stack it up, if this continues to happen, I have no idea how the rest of his Pirates career is going to go. or what it's going to look like where he goes when he goes elsewhere from Pittsburgh. But to have multiple starts, one a complete game, 8 innings, you're walking less than one runner or less, striking out over 8 in both, and you lose both of those games.
Yeah,
I just can't imagine the mentality of that player. I would hate my teammates.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how
he
you
says
do it.
and does all the right things, but that's why I always mention like it'd be very interesting to give him some truth serum and see how he actually feels.
Like, bums suck. I wish I was back at LSU right now.
He's made 36 starts in the majors. He's 15-9, despite just having a 2 ERA and a 9.1 WAR, 0.92 WHIP, 255 strikeouts, 216 innings pitched. I mean, this guy should probably have like
He's
15
and 9, and 11 of those wins came last year. He's 4-6 this year.
Yeah, I mean, and I hate bringing up the record, but like again, this just continues to hammer the point home where this shouldn't be a talking point when you're talking about starting pitchers, because I understand it's a feather in their cap and it's a talking point in terms of that, and the pitchers themselves want to go out and win the game because it's a testament to them, but there is no better testament towards why this shouldn't be something that's brought up against starting pitchers than Paul Skenes. And honestly, like the Pirates rotation as a whole this year, I mean, he's obviously the number one example to look at because you're talking about the best of the best. I mentioned this a week or two ago where it's like, that is the one positive that I feel like we're seeing is he is back in that, because there was like a little bit of a lull there where people starting like, is he been as dominant and whatever, those narratives were starting to build. But I think he's firmly back in that conversation as best pitcher in baseball. Again, the team results just aren't yielding that. And, I don't think it's necessarily happened yet, but even though national media is trying to push the whole trade thing and it's not going to be, no matter what they say, I do wonder internally, and when I say internally, I mean inside Paul Skenes' head, what that tipping point would have to be.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it with other sports. Like we talked about it with Connor McDavid, who is in the Stanley Cup final again for back-to-back seasons. We'll see how that plays out. But we talked about, like, in the past, what's the breaking point, like with him in Edmonton? Like, where would you finally say this enough's enough? Get me out of here. Get me on a competitive team. I wonder the same thing with Paul Skenes, and it sucks that we're having this conversation not even a year and a half into his actual MLB tenure. But when is enough? I feel like Paul Skenes is a smart enough guy to know that he is the piece that the Pirates should be building around. He's aware of the conversations that everyone literally outside of the organization is having with themselves, because it doesn't seem like the organization is actually having those conversations at all. But I feel like he's got to know at some point that if they're not building around me, and he sees that, what's the point? Why am I here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how his tenure plays out here and at what point it does become a legitimate conversation. As we very much know, Paul Skenes himself, very much a game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. I wish I could tell you there's a bunch of different Pirates designs on there, but team stinks. So you got an Andrew McCutchen one, you got an Oneil Cruz one, Bonds,
got a couple
Skenes,
Paul Skenes
Jared
ones.
Jones. Oh yeah, there is the new Skenes one. I forgot. That's sick. I'm kind of upset that I have the V1, not the V2, but maybe I should get the V2 as well.
Also, while we're on the Skenes stuff too,
yeah.
Just to add a couple more things to it, just to really pour salt into our own wounds to make us feel worse about ourselves. Paul Skenes has only allowed 19 earned runs in 13 starts in 2025, and the Pirates have lost 8 of those games.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He, in his career, since coming up to the MLB, in his losses, has a 3.13 ERA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not like he gets blown up either. Well, he's given up 6 runs once. I think that's probably the worst start that he's had. Against Cardinals, I believe. But yeah, I mean, other than that, you know you're going to be competitive in those games. He's going to keep you in the game every single night. And more often than not, you should win with just even a competent off. This guy would probably have 1 loss or 2 losses with the 2004-2006 Pittsburgh Pirates.
Sure.
And those teams sucked.
Yeah.
But the offense wasn't bad. You had Jason Bay and Freddie Sanchez leading the charge. Xavier Nady. Jack Wilson.
Friend of the show, by the way.
Yeah. We should reach out to him and be like, hey, how can we get some of your ex-teammates on here? We need some contact info.
Hey, does your son
How fun would that
play for
be?
the Pirates?
Jacob, kind of a cool, because like the whole conversation with him when the A's selected him was like, that was a reach, but like he was just cheap for them in that slot.
Sure.
Looks like a pretty good player. Maybe somebody.
Yeah, I mean, so far in 2025, he's played in 59 games, has 250 at bats, is batting 358, on base percentage 395, slugging 509.
Yeah.
OPS 904. Yeah, pretty good player. Like I said, you want to be like your dad and play for the Pirates? Probably not, but
get to play with Skenes. That's literally the appeal. That's how they got to sell everybody right now. Yeah.
And that, I was about to get real pissed and I start yelling. I'm not going to do that. Why are you not doing that in free agency, though? Why is that not your selling pitch? You have the best pitcher in the world. Okay. That's how they got Tommy Pham. That's how they re-signed Cutch. It's not because he loves the Pirates. So stupid.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, the free agent pitching addition they made, I feel like has been pretty solid. Andrew Heaney kind of flies under the radar. Obviously, he's not like as flashy as a Paul Skenes or anything like that. But no qualms like about the rotation for me. Like even when they've had a hiccup here or there, look at the overall body of work, and it's been very solid and definitely a rotation you could win with. If the hitting matched the rotation, I feel like this is at least a wild card team.
Sure. Yeah. Well, honestly, I think it's better. If the hitting matched the rotation itself and not the pitching is, you said the pitching as a whole, I think it's a wild card team. If it just matched the rotation,
you think they win the division?
I think they're a competitive baseball team. Like I think that we're talking about a really good baseball team. Because I mean, realistically, we're talking about
That's probably fair. They're what, like a top 5 rotation right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're probably talking about at minimum like top 5 rotation in all of baseball. And so you add a top 5 offense onto that. There's no way.
I mean, imagine if they keep getting the starts that they just got from Burrows going forward on top of it. I mean, we're going to maybe, and if not, you got Bubba Chandler waiting in the wings. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm very intrigued by that. Also, like, maybe it's still, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's just going to be a guy that gets the results but scares you a little bit. Mark Melanson had a way of doing that at times too. David Bednar's definitely been more effective since coming back up, but there's still, I don't know, and maybe it's just me, but there's still like an uneasiness for me when he's in. It's probably because of the results that it had been yielding, but he's definitely been more effective since coming back up.
Yeah, I think he has been. Man, it's so frustrating talking about this team sometimes. It's but that's, I get it. That's the life. That's the life. That's what we get. That's what we get to deal with. But who knows? Maybe 2025 we'll look back on it and be like, hey, this was the beginning of what turned around this.
Let me ask you one more thing before we wrap up here. And it's about Donnie Kelly. How would you how are you assessing the performance of Donnie Kelly? Because it's the same roster essentially that we had with Derek Shelton. So, are you going to be attaching the results to Donnie Kelly in the same way that you were Derek Shelton? Is it just more about how competitive they are within the games, even if they're not winning? Like, how are you going to be looking back to evaluate Donnie Kelly's performance when it's all said and done?
I think that I'm looking at the way the team responds to him as kind of like a jolt in the arm of the franchise. I and I don't necessarily know that that's a plus that Donnie Kelly is bringing. I think that's more of just a spite to Derek Shelton, and that they were just so fed up with him as manager that they were going to be happy playing for almost anybody else. And so I think that you're seeing more success than what you saw with Derek Shelton this season because, overall, the Pirates are 10-12 under Donnie Kelly as head coach or as manager. And I feel like that is an improvement from what we were seeing from the Pirates. I mean, not even really.
Sure.
It is for sure an improvement. I don't necessarily think that I would judge him based off of the wins and losses, though. I would judge him based off of what he continues to do the rest of the season as far as in-game decisions with bullpen management when it comes to who he decides to pinch hit. Like just the roster management when it comes to in-game decisions is where I would look, because that's a lot of what we critiqued Derek Shelton on too before. So I feel like that's something that you have to look and see how it compares and see how it's different. And also just looking at what you just mentioned too, the overall competitiveness, not necessarily being a good team, but like, are the Pirates continuing to fight in these games where they are struggling? Like, if as long as I see that the morale is up from the team, despite the losses, if they're still trying in these games and being competitive, then I would say that overall, even if it's not necessarily credited to Donnie Kelly, I think that's a positive in his camp, because that's something that you weren't really seeing from Derek Shelton, at least to end his Pirates career.
Yeah. I'm curious when it's all wrapped up, meaning when the season's over, how we're going to look back on it and evaluate him, because I don't think that the results are probably the best way to do so, just because, again, I actually, it's going to sound funny, I'm going to probably have more fun watching them post trade deadline and All-Star break, but the results might actually be worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think that's
if
fair.
they bring up everybody that I want them to bring up, and it's a bunch of young guys, and there's going to be some growing pains. And there are probably players like an IKF who've been very productive this year, one of the very few like consistent pieces that could be traded. So theoretically, they're going to be worse, but more to watch for in terms of somebody that might be part of the future.
Sure. And I think that as far as the record goes, I don't necessarily think the record is going to change at all. But when I talk about the competitive standpoint, if you're losing games 3-2, 5-4, like something that is passing the eye test as playing more competitively than losing 5-0, 6-1, like that's going to be noticeable. I mean, even in these games that they lose close and we feel like they should win with a better offense, as long as they're losing competitively, I will be okay with it. Obviously, it's not fun, but I would rather watch them be competitive and lose than be boring and get blown out.
I'm also curious internally, because I don't even know, who knows if Ben Sherrington's to be the one to make this call, or if it's to be a new GM, and then Donnie Kelly basically has to re-interview with them. But I'm curious, internally, what the expectation is for him the rest of the year. And at the end, are they going to say this guy did a really nice job, or he didn't make the cut? Smitty from around the 412 here, and while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. That's honestly something that just popped in my mind. They hire a new GM. Does that person get to handpick their man? I mean, I would assume so. So, who even knows?
You'd assume so, but then Bob might be like, "Oh, he's the cheapest." Never mind.
Oh, you'll manage for $1 million, whatever it might be. I don't even know what MLB manager salaries are, to be honest with you. That might be a lot. I have no clue. Oh, you'll manage for $100,000. Sure.
I mean, I'll manage for $100,000.
Yeah, I wonder if do they have a minimum? This is all questions I'm asking myself in real time. Anyways, that'll do it. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here on YouTube. If you were watching over here, if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Whether you're listening or watching, check out the links in the description of the show. GameChange.la, Pit6.la. Save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout. Talked about Keith's Barbershop. Download the app, The Cut, book an appointment with him. Or you can do a walk-in with Ashley or Tony. And then right above Tyler right now, Marcelo Electric, our friend Brandon Marcelo, a.k.a. Boots, his small business serving Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler counties. Hit him up, 724-614-0611. Whether it's residential, commercial, or a service call, again, he can do it for you. Hit him up, 724-614-0611. Down below is his Facebook page. See all of his work, see his van that he just recently did, and then all that contact information is there as well. And then finally, as we talked about at the top, the Horse Nickel first annual Memorial Golf Outing going on Saturday, August 16th at 9 a.m. at Fox Run Golf Course. You got to register your foursome, not threesome, by July 5th. So the Facebook page down below for that registration can be found on the page along with all the information for the event itself.
I am about to hit you with a bombshell.
Okay.
The Pirates manager, Derek Shelton, according to a couple websites now, was the 14th highest paid manager in the MLB.
Making what?
$1.5 million.
Okay, that's the 14th highest? Jeez.
Yeah.
So what did the least amount make? Like 750,000?
I don't know. Everything I'm seeing is like top 15, top 20.
Everybody's probably like $1 million in that. Yeah.
I would say that everyone's probably around $1 million, and then it goes up from there. The highest paid manager in the MLB is Craig Counsell.
Yep, I remember that.
Cubs,
yeah,
making $8 million.
My God, why? That is such a large gap, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, even from second, Torey Lovullo from Arizona Diamondbacks making $5 million. He's number 2. And then it goes Bruce
Counsell's.
Is it
he ain't like
Bochy?
that either.
Bruce Bochy? Bochy, sorry. Texas Rangers, $4.5 million, and then you have 5 players.
Yeah, I mean, completely
managers.
reasonable to botch that name. He's only got 4 World Series championships.
Sorry, but yeah, and then the next 5 are tied at $4 million. Dave Martinez with the Nationals at 3.5. Aaron Boone, 3.3 million. The New York Yankees, pay Aaron Boone $4.7 million less than the Cubs pay Craig Counsell.
Mm-hmm. I'm willing to spread this propaganda. Craig Counsell is the most overpaid person in sports.
Dave Roberts, Alex Cora, $3.25 million, $3 million, and then you drop down to like half of that. Kevin Cash, Tampa Bay Rays, $1.6 million, and then you get to Derek Shelton and Carlos Mendoza of the New York Mets, both being paid or were paid. Derek Shelton's not being paid now. Well, actually, he probably is. But
he is, but
he is. $1.5 million each.
Oh, brother. All right. Well, anyways, there you go.
I guess you can't say the Pirates are cheap on their manager. Their top half team and manager salary.
Yeah, they will pay average for their manager. That's. Anyways, again, be sure like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you were here on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else. Follow us on everything at Around the 412. And that's it for Tyler, for Smitty. This has been the Around the 412 Pirates show. And unfortunately, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.